This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets. Woo!
Things aren't the way they were before. You wouldn't even recognize me anymore. Not that you knew me back then, but it all comes back to me.
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets.
And even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of a time when I tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. I put my trust in you.
Really thankful that I spent all my career with the New York Jets, and when I go back and mingle with the fans, and I still have some people who are dear to me, and they're there through thick and thin, no matter what, win or lose, and those are the true fans, and that's what I really value and care.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is Jets Guru Nation? What is going on? Welcome to Jets Guru once again every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We've been doing this for years now. We've been chugging along. We've been pushing. We've been grinding. We've been trying to message everyone known to man to try to get on the show. We finally had Blake Cashman come on the show, and we were super excited about that. And that actually happened because one of the fans was related to him and hooked us up with that, and that was great. But we weren't satisfied with that, right? So we kept going. And then we got Mike Westhoff on the show, and we were super excited to have Coach on, man, because Coach is such a character, and he's such just a wonderful person. And then I said, who else could we get? JR said, who could we get? He said, don't worry, I got you. And he got Mr. Wesley Walker to come in. I mean, when you talk about Jet legends, you can't get too far until you get to Wesley Walker. And it's such a blessing to have Wesley on. Super excited. So JR, throw him on when you can. Throw the whole Jets Guru group up so we could get into it and we could get into our questions and talk a little bit. And before we get started, we have Wesley. Wesley, I just want to throw this out there really quick. We have a new member to our show, so this is a great time for us to do this interview. We got Liz, who's on our first episode with us.
Hey, Liz.
So we're spoiling you, Liz. This is how we do it here on Jets Guru each and every week. We got Wesley Walker on. This is just kind of what we do. But no, Wesley, honestly, we really appreciate you coming on. It's such an honor. I know the fans are really excited. It's the off season too, which is tough for us to try to get people to come on. So we really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too, and I know how it is trying to get guests every week when you're running the show. And I remember I had a little time on the radio with one of my teammates, Bobby Jackson, but we always were frustrated trying to get guests, not knowing who was going to be there, who was available, trying to put together the time and everything else. And everything is so technical now, even trying to do the computer thing or through the phones and the Zoom. And I'm old school. I'm just used to being on the phone and texting. So I'm just happy to be here and to be able to share some thoughts and, on my career and anything you'd like to discuss in reference to the Jets that I can answer. And I'm just glad to be here, and I'm thankful for JR to play my tunes. I told him
I got you.
Kind of music that I like, and I listen to everything. So I threw some stuff out there, but that's just one of my favorite groups that I like listening to that fires me up. Actually, that just gave me goose pimples.
That's awesome.
So Liz.
Wesley, how do we improve on this guest list here on out? You start at the very top with Wesley Walker, who, by the way, Wesley, I want to say my heartfelt happy birthday to you a few days late. I know
Thank you.
Friday was your big day, and 39, you look awesome for 39.
Well, every day is my birthday. I'm just happy. I've been blessed, and I just can't believe how time has gone by. This is
Oh,
my 68th birthday, and I was talking to my wife on the drive over to see my granddaughter today, and I was saying, God, it's like 46 years since I've been playing, for the New York Jets, and it's like yesterday to me. It's gone by so fast, and I was out in New York to visit my kids. My oldest son just turned 40. They had a birthday party for him. And I'm looking at all my kids. I got a 40-year-old, a 39-year-old, 36-year-old. They each have two kids apiece. And I just remember them when they were babies. But the fact that I got drafted in 1977 and we're in 2023, it is crazy. And it's gone by so fast, and it's just like a blur. And I can remember like it was yesterday.
absolutely. Well, I remember you like it was yesterday. I mean, 438 catches, 8,306 yards, 71 touchdowns. You are a phenomenon, and it is such an honor and such a pleasure to be able to chat with you like this. You and Barbara are all over MetLife Stadium. You guys jump from tailgate to tailgate, and you meet with everybody, and I'm waiting for my turn. I just cannot wait. I'm a season ticket holder and fan of the year last year, and
Yep.
I just can't wait to hug your neck and tell you how much you mean to me and how much I've followed you over the years. And I just have to ask your most memorable game, and everybody's going to know what you're going to say. But I mean, in your incredible career, what stands out to you?
Well, there's many games that I've had, and a lot of the fans wouldn't know this, but there are certain catches you made that, people don't even know what went into it. Certain times I've made certain catches where I'm like, God, I can't believe I did that. God had to be involved with it because I don't even know how I caught that. And a lot of people didn't know that I was born blind in my left eye. I always kept it hid. And I'd have doctors to this day always wondering, being blind in my left eye, I have no peripheral vision. I have no depth perception. And it just takes a lot of work ethic. But there's certainly a lot of memories that I had with the New York Jets, and one of the fondest memories, and I think everybody would look at that in 1986. I scored 4 touchdowns, but I didn't do it by myself. I had a lot of help from my teammates, and Kenny O'Brien had a stellar day, and I wish I could just review the whole game and how we got to that point. But I just remember being angry at my coach, and I teach kids nowadays to never to give up. And I'm an educator. I did that after I retired, and that was a game that I almost gave up on. A lot of people don't know that. I strained my groin during a week of practice. Didn't know if I was going to play. And I had this guy by the name of Kurt Sohn, who I adored, great receiver who filled in for practice for me. But I ended up starting the game. And the first half, we're going into the second quarter, and I'm not even being utilized. And I told him I might as well just sit out and rest my groin. And so we were going into, I think it was the second quarter, towards the end, and we call this play action pass. I was wide open. We worked on it, I don't know how many times in practice, and it worked like a charm. And I scored a touchdown. I forget how long it was. That was the first one. And towards the end of the second quarter, the first half, I'm begging Joe Walton just to go deep. I was always known as the deep guy, although I thought I could run short. I could be a slot receiver. I can score from anywhere, but I never got that opportunity. But I was pleading with him, just let's go for it. And he was reluctant, but he did anyway. And Miami happened to be in the right coverage at the time. But Kenny O'Brien had enough belief in me, and I got my second touchdown, broke a tackle, and going for for the second touchdown. We going into half. We come back, and the second half it was just a shootout back and forth watching Dan Marino and Kenny O'Brien battling it out. And I had so much respect for Kenny O'Brien, and he outdueled Dan Marino, who was one of the best. But I remember when we were going down for the final drive, because I had actually caught a ball, but I didn't think I had possession of it, and they ruled it a fumble. Miami got the ball back and scored and went ahead, and I thought we had lost the game. But we had this drive, and we go down. I mean, we had these trick plays, and I'll never forget this. It was so important, and it's a team game. And I remember Freeman McNeil was hurt. Johnny Hector filled in for him. Johnny Hector and Mickey Schuler made some of the two biggest plays in that game, and the effort that they made to set us up to, tie the game up. But if you saw the effort, this hook and lateral run, first of all, it was a nice run by Johnny Hector, and we did this whole hook and lateral thing to Mickey Schuler, and he lateraled to Johnny Hector to get a first down, keep the ball moving. Mickey Schuler caught this one ball, and we didn't have much time left, and he broke I don't know how many tackles, gets to the sideline with 5 seconds left. And then we had this formation that we'd been worked on every week in practice, never had a chance to really call it. And we called this play, and I was actually on the sidelines because I'd bring the plays in and out towards the latter part of my career. And Kenny O'Brien comes to the sideline and says, "Wesley, get in." And I was so proud of him to do that. But also, it broke my heart because Kurt Stone, who was my backer, was just a good dude, a great athlete, and never got the opportunity he really deserved. So I go in, we call this play. It's over the middle. Again, Miami's in the right coverage. I don't know how the ball stuck in my hand. It's over the middle, high ball. Kenny O'Brien throws a pretty hard ball, and he really took like a double pump and pumped it in there. I caught it with my hands in the middle, about 4 or 5 guys, and tied the game with no time left. And then we go back, and I don't know how this happened. We always got bad calls. We actually fumbled the kickoff, and they gave it back to us. And so we got the last drive. We go down there. We're driving the ball. We're running, and we're good at running the ball. We had guys like Johnny Hector, Freeman McNeil. So we had a good running game. We had a good passing game. We could mix it up. So we're moving the ball with Al Toon catching the ball. He had a great game also. And we're moving, and so we throw this one long bomb again with this play action, and I scored a winning touchdown. And I was in awe, in shock. It was a game that I thought that I would never have. I almost gave up, and I tell this story to a lot of kids on, you can never give up. You never know what's going to happen. You always hear this cliche about playing for 60 minutes, and that was a game that I will never forget. And I was the MVP. And they even asked me after the game, who was the MVP? Who would you like it to be? And my pick would have been Kenny O'Brien. And it is a team sport. It's guys working collectively together. I wouldn't say that game was a defensive ball game because we were both, scoring on our defense. But from an offensive standpoint, guys were working together. And I couldn't have done it without my teammates. But I've certainly had many, many games in overtime. I can remember in Denver, in the 70s, and I'm dating myself, and we were down 28-3, and we come all the way back. I scored the winning touchdown. I remember getting a 96-yarder against Buffalo. It's a record to this day, and I'm sure it's going to be broken one day. But there's many games that fans don't realize that you've had or catch that you made that turned the ball game around. I just wanted to be a part of every situation. I was very unsatisfied when we won, and if I wasn't an important focal point of winning or contributing, I was depressed. And that's just the competitiveness, but it's a team. But when we won and when I didn't get hurt, I was a happy man. And as a New York Jet, and Wesley Walker, and I'll say this over and over again, you just named off my stats and the numbers. If I didn't get hurt, I probably could have doubled my numbers if I would have been utilized a lot more. And these days you're playing 17 games, and I think I caught 62 balls was the most balls I caught during this season. So I prided myself to do something with the football, and that's why my average was so high. I never got the opportunities. Now guys are catching, 80, 90, 100 balls. I would love to be able to do that. And in this sport, to be in the Hall of Fame, you have to stay healthy, you have to have longevity, and you have to put up those numbers for statistics. It's not just the winning, and that also helps if you go to Super Bowls and you're winning and you get the accolades you deserve. But we had some all-pro players on that football team, and I can go down a list, and I think of Mark Gastineau, Joe Glecko, Kenny O'Brien, Freeman McNeil, Bobby Jackson, Bruce Harper. I could just go on and on. We could play with anybody. And when people ask me who's the toughest defensive back that I ever went against, and I went against some good dudes, Mel Blount, Hall of Famer, but guys like Bobby Jackson and Jerry Holmes, they made me what I am today. My guys were just as tough as anybody in the National Football League, and that's what made me as good as I was. And I only scratched the surface. I just wish I could do it over again because I think I would have done a lot better because there are a lot of things you would do differently. But that's hindsight 2020, as they say.
Hey, Wesley, thank
Wow.
you again, like so much for being on the show. Definitely appreciate both the perspectives and the stories that you've been sharing with us so far. But with that in mind, with the players that you covered, some of the situations that you went through as a player, and you're a diehard Jets fan at Jets events, at Jets games. I don't know if there's many players even that know the Jets as well as you do. You've seen some really good coaches since you've retired, right? We had the Rex Ryan runs. We had some Herm Edwards runs. Bob Sala's doing some special things. We had Bill Parcells here.
Yep.
If you could swap out and have played or had those guys you just said played with one of those coaches,
Wow.
I just said, you can only pick one of those names.
Wow, that is pretty tough.
Which one would you go to war with right now and say, grab this guy, put him on those sidelines with those men I played with, and I want to get on that field right now with that coach?
I'll be honest with you. I like Robert Saleh, and I had a pleasure of meeting him when I came in for the Ring of Honor ceremonies. And he came right up to me. I never met him before, and he's reading up on me too. He said, "You're blind in one eye," and I'm right. And I told him I could play for you. He's like a player's coach. You just mentioned like a Rex Ryan, a Bill Parcells, and we've had many of them. And one of my coaches, I wish I would have been able to play under. He was my position coach, and he went to I think Atlanta, and he became a head coach. Was Dan Henning, and I always wish he would have been head coach where I could play because he's the one that taught me. He brought me to another level, I would say that. And to me, a coach could see things in individual players and get the most out of it. And a lot of coaches try to put you in their system instead of looking at their value and what they can do, and then you build that system around their abilities. And that's where I think coaches make a mistake. I like Robert Saleh. He's a professional. And I only met him one time. I just have this good feeling about him. I'm hoping defensively they're going to come through this year because they got 9 starters coming back. They just got to get the offense intact. But if I had my choice right now, and those are a lot of great names that you mentioned, and I would like to, but I got to go with my Jets boys in the now. You can't go back in the past, so I have to go with my guy now.
Wow.
That's a great overview.
So Wesley, going with that, so you're playing for Robert Saleh now. What are the biggest differences that you see in today's game from when you played from the wide receiver position? And what do you think could be improved upon from both eras?
Well, back when I was playing, we focused. I would like to try to say we're trying to have stability in both areas of run and pass. Nowadays, it's more of a passing-oriented game. And I was talking to a Jets reporter today, Rich Samini, who's a good friend of mine. And I always had a good rapport with a lot of the reporters, even when they wrote bad articles on me. But you get a lot of insight and perspective from those people. But I think the game has changed from a more of a passing league. And if you really looked at the Jets last season, they had this kid, Breece Hall, who's coming back off an injury. He has a lot of speed, but he was running the football. And I swear the whole system changed when he got hurt. And I know that as a receiver, that you have to have the opportunities. You have to be put in certain positions, and certain times you don't get a chance to do some of those things. You have to develop a confidence in the coaches. They got this kid Mims, and I was just trying to figure out what happened with him. And some people don't have the work ethic. Some people hadn't learned the game, or maybe the route running. One of the things I do know, though, as a professional, coaching is a very integral part. And if you have somebody that can teach you, who puts you to another level, that is coaching. When I got to the New York Jets, I was, I was a track guy, a football player that ran track. I had a lot of speed. A lot of people underestimated me, but I prided myself in work ethic, catching the ball. I always had a lot of speed, and that was always a knock on me. I'm too small. Oh, you're fast, but can he catch the ball? So I worked on using my hands, learning how to run routes. But when I got to the Jets, I could run past people, but Dan Hinton taught me how to really run routes and understanding the game. I'm not so sure a lot of people understand that when they come out of college. I know I had this guy that got drafted after me, Donnie Lamb Jones. He went to a more of a running passing school. He is one of the best athletes that I've ever seen. And I used to tell him, if I was your coach, you would have made me look good, because he didn't work at his craft. He would show up sometimes and wouldn't work at it. But I seen him catch, balls over the middle, make some fantastic hits, and so I'm drop a lot. But it takes work ethic, and I would have had it in under my wing to take him. And that's what I had in a Dan Henning. And you have to know your players, and you got to sit down with them, and you have to really focus to really get them in to buy into a program. I hope Robert Saleh can do that. Now, I think he's more defensive oriented, and it's going to take a lot for coaches on that offensive end. But I like Garrett Wilson. He's a stud. He just needs opportunity. He caught 80 balls this year, over 1,000 yards. I mean, if you can't get 1,000 yards in a game with 80 balls, then there's something wrong with that. But it's about opportunity. And I bet you he would tell you he needed more opportunities because he had a problem at the quarterback situation. So they got to get that rectified. Zach Wilson was a disappointment. Everybody's had the high hopes, but this is what happened. Everybody's getting crazy with Aaron Rodgers right now. And Aaron Rodgers right now is sitting out with a calf injury. And I start out any podcast or any interviews I do, I'm excited for the season. On paper, you can look good. But if guys are injured and guys don't buy into the program, I don't care what is going on. From a coaching standpoint, it's just very difficult. So there's a lot of things that have to go into the season. But I do like the Jets' opportunities this year. They have a good receiving corps, some free agents that are coming in to help Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully everybody will stay healthy. He's got this big stud, Lazard. He's like 6'4", 6'5", big stud. And they have some chemistry along with Cobb. But, Father Time kind of catches up to you. So I don't know how much of that he's going to be able to produce. But the biggest difference, I think, is getting the guys to buy into the program. And you have to have quality coaches who know how to get the best out of their abilities. That's a big question with the Jets. Do they have those position coaches who can get that done? I know Robert Saleh is a head coach. He's got to deal with the whole team, the upstairs management. It's a whole different ball game. But you have to have guys to surround yourself. And I know this firsthand. When we lost my coach, Dan Henning, he wanted a new contract or wanted security. They wouldn't pay him, so he went elsewhere. They thought they could just put in a coach to coach us, and it just doesn't work that way. We had our special teams coach come in there, and it was a horror show. So you have to have guys that know what they're doing, what they're talking about, and that can get the best out of those guys. But you have to know what you're doing and what you're talking about, and you have to have respect of the players, and they have to respect you.
Yeah, Wesley, before Liz jumps in, I mean, an excellent point on the coaching. I mean, I think you saw that, we don't really like this team here, but the Patriots with Mac Jones, how they have a defensive coordinator calling plays for your quarterback that had a very solid rookie year and was progressing. And he took a step back, and I think you clearly saw what coaching can do. But yeah, solid points on that, Liz.
Yeah, Wesley, first of all, I must say that your answer to my first question was absolutely phenomenal. Definitely a mic drop, and that was way more than any of us expected. And we're just overwhelmed and in awe with the accounts that you have. You are truly an encyclopedia of Jets football from back in the day till present day. That's phenomenal, and it's so great to see, and it's so heartwarming from a huge fan. But speaking of the fans, since I was picked as the fan of the year. I interact with so many people, but I see you do that as well. And I'd like to know, like, is there a whole group of fans that you still keep in contact with? I love, how your social media, you're so open with sharing the amazing pictures of your beautiful family and friends. But I'd like to know, like, do you have a certain group of fans that you've kept in contact with all these years? And
That's a difficult question. I just love people. That's number one. I love people. I don't know how anyone can hurt another human being. That's just my makeup, and I thank God I just had good parents who taught me the value of education and how to treat people. And I really meant that at the top of the show. What I get out of the Jets, forget all the accolades of being a player. I mean, the fans just really made me what I am today, and I love that. And if you look at the poster of the Ring of Honor with Mark Gasson and that's what I play for, the fans who support you no matter what. And it's people like yourself, Liz, who support the Jets, win or lose. I know we're very frustrated. I'm a frustrated Jet fan myself as a player. I look back on my career, what could have been, that Mud Bowl, we could have been in the Super Bowl. We had to make plans to go to the Super Bowl. That is so disheartening. I remember in the playoffs, we had a chance to go to the championship. We have Cleveland locked up. They go 80, 90 yards and, score and we're knocked out. And that is the awful feeling. I can't even watch the Super Bowl celebrations or go to the Hall of Fame where I see some of my friends there, because that's something that you had a goal of reaching, and it's very disheartening when you don't get there. And I know it's 46 years now, and it still just hurts me as a player that we couldn't get there, for the fans. But when I get back to New York, I try to see as many people as I can. I am very lucky. I was an educator after my career was over. I did that for about 25 years. And one of my students, they're there every week in tailgate. So I try to make a point to see her. There's a guy, Bruce Reeder, who passed away. I just had an opportunity. I was going to go see him before he passed away. We were just sharing stories, and I was just trying to encourage him with his battle with cancer. And I still deal with people going through that right now here in Arizona, and it's just a tough thing. And I wanted him to share that with people, because a lot of people go through these experiences, and it's people like him and the groups that surround him. And I've had a chance to meet a lot of those people that he had an impact on, and that, have an impact on me. I have pictures of some fans where I've been in a function, it could be in New Jersey, it could be on Long Island, and they show up. And I so appreciate that. And there's a guy, Claudio, that has his group out there. There's just so many people. You probably know a lot of them, Liz, too. I get a kick out of going to a lot of different tailgates, eat the food, and it's not just to share or eat the food. It's just being with people who are very supportive of you. And I will never forget that. And there's so many names that I can name drop, Frank West out there, and Nikolai, and there's just so many of them. And I try to make as many as I can. Unfortunately, I can't with all the injuries I had walk around the stadium. I was fortunate. I had a guy bring me because I was in the Ring of Honor, and he picked up the Ring of Honor guys, and he took me to each tailgate that I could get to, which was phenomenal. But I just have so many different friends that I love seeing, and Liz probably knows a lot of them there. And it like I said, it's not going to their tailgate to eat or drink. It's just to share that, hey, I care about you too. And when I can't make it, that even makes it really worse for me, because I can't see everybody, and that's very frustrating also, because I'll have friends that go to the games and they're in suites, or I'm walking around, and I have things that I have to do from the Jets perspective, things that we have to do, and I can't see everybody, and it's very frustrating that I can't see everybody.
Well, thank you so much. That's amazing.
But definitely in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Right back at you.
All right, Wesley. Now, you talked about special people. You talked about the Ring of Honor. We even talked about birthdays today. So hopefully you might know where I'm going. Do you have a cool Joe Namath story talking about birthdays, turning 80 years old today? Do you have any cool stories of interacting or advice he gave you, or just something like he did that just had you cracking up on the sidelines?
The thing with Joe Namath, I never had the opportunity to play with him. And when I got drafted by the Jets in 1977, he had just got traded to the Rams, and he was in LA. And for some reason, I had a track meet or something in LA, and they hooked us up. That's the first time I met him. The second time I was at, it was, not, I was thinking John Elway, but it's Jim Kelly's golf tournament. And I was going to take the bus over with all the athletes, and Joe calls me over, come ride with me. And he had a little limo that we took there. And he was just so nice. And I will never forget this too, because I remember talking to Jerome Barkham when I first got to the Jets. Jerome Barkham was there, and Richard Castor, who was like my idol. I love Richard Castor, and not one person ever spoke badly about Joe. And I know he had this aura about him, and you would think he would be kind of on the conceited side, but he was very, very humble, very, very nice. And they had nothing but respect for him, and I see why. And from the first time I ever met him, he treated me like I played with him. And to this day, he is just so nice. And as a matter of fact, I called him. I just got my knee replaced in February, and I used to watch him because I used to do his little kids camp he used to have, and he would have these bandages wrapped up, and it looked painful just to see him walk. And he finally got his knees replaced, and it was the best thing he ever done. And I've been afraid of getting mine done. Both of them have to be done, but I finally had it done. But I called him, and he called me right back. And I was there, for his meltdown when he had on the national TV. And believe me, he had me in tears laughing. And it wasn't a funny thing at the time, but it was funny at the time. But sometimes we have to go through these storms to get where you need to be. And he was in a bad place. And sometimes you have to go to these places. And I've been through a divorce, and that's one of the blemishes on my record. But I look at my life, maybe I had to go through this to get to where I am now, and help me see things. And you can also, through other people's trials and tribulation, you can learn something from them. So that's what I've taken away. But Joe Namath is one of the nicest human beings that I've ever met. And I take a picture with him every year when we met, or sometimes we meet 2 or 3 times during the Jet games or whatever. But he's just a solid guy. I just wish I had one of them stories where I used to hang out with him. He's before my time. I would say I'm old, but I'm not that old. But I am old. But I didn't get a chance to play with him because I'd have loved to have hung out with him. But it'd probably been more trouble than I could handle. But great guy.
We appreciate the stories, though. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% appreciate the stories. But Wesley, I think when we talk about, you said that you had gotten injured, and if you hadn't gotten injured, but I think people don't understand how good you were as an NFL player. Your second year, you referenced that Garrett Wilson had 80 catches on that year. Wesley had 48 receptions his second year for almost 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. To put that in perspective, Garrett Wilson had a little over 1,100 yards on 80 receptions. That tells me if Wesley Walker was playing last season, he would have had 2,000 yards receiving and double the touchdowns, because I don't understand how, Wesley, you had almost 1,200 yards receiving on only 43 receptions. I mean, that's amazing. Can you tell us what was the preparation that you used in the offseason? Because I wanted someone to take something from this. What did you do to prepare as a player to play the wide receiver position?
Well, that's the one thing that I would, when I was saying earlier how I wish I could do it over, and they have so many training programs nowadays. We didn't have that. And I basically went off my own intuition. I was a track runner in high school. So a lot of times I would train on my own on the track. And every day I would, getting ready for training camp, I'd run like, I was also good at long distance. So I'd run about, at least 3 or 4 miles a day just to work on conditioning. But there's so many other things and drills that you can do to help yourself, and I just didn't have access to that. And I wish I had. It's a little bit easier. I shouldn't say easier, but when you have a training system or somebody pushing you every day to do things, and now you have so many programs on how to eat. I didn't even drink water. My wife has gotten me to drink water since I met her 16 years ago. I never drank water. And I'm wondering why I had all these pulls and strains and everything else. But your eating habits, how to train, and that's what I would do differently. But the only thing I was able to do, I would go with my workouts, my track workouts, and I had this ritual where I had this. My babysitter used to call it the death run. He used to hate running with me because I'd pick the heat of the day, the hottest part of the day, and run this 3.5 mile run. And used to kick my butt all the time. And I'd had a couple of my teammates that would participate, but they never really wanted to do it. But you just really have to work at whatever you do, and you have to work hard. And every year you have to even work harder. And I remember in '86, I even hired a trainer to kind of help me, and we're doing all these different drills. And I remember having a pretty good year. I gained over 1,000 yards there, but it could have been better because I had the mindset back then. I wanted to gain 2,000 yards in the 60s because it hadn't been done. And it was very frustrating for me because I remember, I guess it was '86, I had 12 touchdowns with 5 games to go. And I think the record was the Jet record was 14, the NFL record was 18, which I think Jerry Rice has. And I said, I'm getting this. I am getting this. And we just stopped throwing. And that's where I said, where you just have to have the opportunities. For some reason, they just stopped throwing the ball. And I was so frustrated. A lot of people don't know this. I was a frustrated wide receiver being with the New York Jets. And I would watch my teammate Al Toon would catch a 90 to 100 balls. And I would catch half of that and still get those numbers. I mean, my year in '78, I averaged 24 yards, I think 24.7. The following year, I was averaging 25.7, which I think I averaged that in college. And then I got hurt, so that was the key. And the thing as an athlete, you have to train. And you look at Tom Brady, who has his own trainer, how to eat. And in this different situation being a quarterback. But Jerry Rice, the way he trained, he probably did a lot of things on his own. But they have more things that you can do nowadays that I would have looked into, paid for, to have some type of training program and have somebody push you. And right now, I'm in physical therapy with a personal trainer to rehab my knee, but he pushes me through things, and you need that. And that's something I didn't have. I just couldn't do everything by myself, which that's what we were left with because we just didn't have those opportunities. And if you go over to the Jets program and you look at what they have, the stadium, and you go to their facilities, turf fields, the grass field, the cafeterias. Shoot, we had a little rinky-dink Hofstra weight room. I would dress halfway to go to the deli to get lunch after meetings and then come to practice, So it's a whole different ball game. I just told my mom, I just came at the wrong time. I don't only miss the money, but I missed the way of life in the NFL the way it could be. But I've been blessed. I just took what I could have, and all I know, it could have been better, and I wish it could have. But a lot of that was on me to train harder and to be better. And I just wish I had the knowledge. And sometimes you wake up late, and I was just one of them late bloomers where you say, God darn, I should have. What happened? Why didn't I see this? And that's with life in general. But like I said, God puts me in these positions so you can see things now. And I think I have a better perspective on life now.
Yeah, Wesley, I really appreciate the perspective. We all do, and I agree with you there. But just even for the amount that we did have you on the field, you did give us some wondrous memories, especially for our older Jets Guru crowd, who usually, like, when you hear them talk, even people like me, you hear me talk a lot. I always reference like Curtis Martin, Wayne Corbett, and I try to leave the years of Boomer Esiason and Jack Trudeau and all that kind of to the side for me. But I didn't get to see you play live. So all I do is I have the highlights. And, you know, to see you play, it makes you just wonder, all these years we were looking for receivers throughout my generation. I'm like, man, I wish we could have a Wesley Walker on our current squad. But Wesley, before we let you go, I know there's some things that you do as well that you wanted to talk about. And just wanted to give you an opportunity to be able to talk about any pages, organizations, different things like that you might want to talk about before we go.
Well, the only thing that I can say is that I just hope that people who, you know, are listening and who have a chance to look at certain athletes, and a lot of athletes have certain charities they work at, and they do a lot of good things. And unfortunately, you read a lot of the bad things. And I've learned over the years, you know, and I referenced it to a movie I was watching, The Equalizer, with the Denzel Washington. There's a quote by Einstein in there, and it says, the most important time of your life is when you're born and when you find out why. And I've been trying to, but the only thing I can say is that I've been put on this earth to give to others, to help others. And my wife and I, we started a company out here. We just call it Spur of the Moment. And before we left New York, we used to help the elderly. And I can relate to them because as you get older, you have all these ailments, and the injury process that I've went through. I've had a neck fusion. I got 14 screws in my neck, a plate to cage. I got a 6-level back fusion, 6 levels. I have 10 screws there, 2 big rods, and I just had a laminectomy in December to take a decompression off. I've had my knees operated on. I've had a right knee replaced with both my shoulders. So there are times where I'm not moving quite as good as I want to or feeling good. And as you get older, I've dealt with a lot of people in the healthcare business that are struggling and they're going through, and I can relate to it for what they're going through because I'm the living proof of it. And I try to help them. So when we got to Arizona, we've been doing the same thing. We're helping believe it or not, a family, a couple who's totally blind, and I can relate that, being blind in my left eye. The couple just lost their mother just today. And we're trying to help them, you know, with the wills and the trust and getting monies transferred. And we take care of their 2 daughters, who are beautiful little girls. And we just give back. We help a lot of people in the area with their kids and everything. So we're like caregivers, and I've been caregiving for my family and kids all my life. I'm with a 9-month-old every day, Monday through Friday, and I love it to death. But I just like giving back. And matter of fact, I was doing this on my birthday, and I was ripping my wife because she gets mad. Because how come on Father's Day and birthdays, you get your day, but I'm not getting mine. I'm doing this, that, and other thing. But there's nothing I would rather do. I don't care what day it is, to help someone, to make them feel better. I'll take that on any birthday, any day of the week, and I'm glad to be able to do that. But I'm not a self-promoter of anything. I'm working with a company now where we have a line of clothing. You can promote yourself and what you want, T-shirts, hats, and I have this logo, and I could see it on your little show. And I always have the sayings, I love my smile, love my pink, or I got the faith. And all the adjectives that I add on to them reflects my personality, what I think about myself. But I don't have any one thing that I'm trying to do. All I want to do is be a role model for others. And I hope that all of us collectively can be able to love and help one another. That's all I care about.
Well, that's wonderful, Wesley. Seriously, absolutely wonderful interview. Absolutely wonderful experience for myself, and I'm sure for the rest of the group here. Hopefully, this isn't the last time we see you. We can get you on in the season.
Call me 24/7. Thank JR for that.
Oh, okay. Now Wesley's on every week, guys. Every week.
And you know, and when he contacted me, and there's a guy that I grew up with, and the brothers play Joey Browner, and I thought that was him, one of the brothers and stuff, until I looked at the name. But he's been wonderful, and I'm sorry about the connection before, and I'm not good at this, you know, when it comes to this Zoom stuff. I'm glad to work out, but you can call me 24/7.
Well, Wesley, we're going to have you on every week, so I'm sure you'll get better with the process.
Sounds
good. Bob is going to kill us.
Yeah, right. But
Give our love to Barbara, please.
I certainly will. She's going. She had to take my little 9-month-old granddaughter to pick up our grandson, and I was trying to get her up there. I'm using this is her phone. She had to take my phone to get. I have something blocked on the phone or something. I have no idea. So she's yelling at me, and believe me, we can look good on Facebook with the family and kids, but we go at it ourselves. But I'm about family. I'm about people. And sometimes my wife didn't want me to get political or talk political, and I have to stay away from that. But I just want people to do the right thing and try to be the right person they can be for everyone. And that's what I'm all about. And I hope I can just be a role model for others, and they will follow that model.
I'm going to be out in Arizona in the beginning of July, so I'm going to look for you.
Well, call me. You got a room? I'm here. It's I almost cussed. It's too damn hot here. That's what I got to get used to. When I got here, I didn't know if I could take the summertime since it's already started. But when you get 90 to 100, and let's say a 10 for 3 or 4 months straight, I don't care. Dry heat or not dry, it's hot. That's hot. It's hot. That's all I can tell you. I miss the beach. I miss the water. But nice. I love Arizona, and I miss my daughter and my 2 sons out in New York. But I'm going to try to get back there as often as I can. And plus, I want to see the Jets in time. Hopefully, I'll get out there a lot more.
Terrific.
Well, Wesley, we appreciate it, brother. And hey, listen, if you got time, stop by Lot D7, man. The crew's out there. We'll be hanging out. Me, JR, and a bunch of other guys.
I would love to do that because I thought we were supposed to meet Liz one day, and somehow we didn't misconnect it. So, I'll try to do what I can because I'm over in D7 with Michelle and everybody else.
Yep, Michelle. Yep.
They're just wonderful, wonderful people, and I wish I could do her yoga. But
yeah. By the way, we're gonna plug that really quick. She'll love that Reroute Yoga. Check that out, Michelle. Yeah, they're my favorites. Her and her husband Euros are some of my favorite people in the world.
But I got a namaste and a logo yoga on my arm because I had a dear friend of mine who was into yoga, and I never even took a class, But that's one thing. And know who's good at T. Rich is good. T. Richardson. Tony Richardson played 17 years. He's in great shape. Yep. You would think he played 17 years at fullback. And he does yoga and everything else. I just wish I had his medicine to look the way he looked.
Well, he couldn't get 43 receptions and 1,100 yards plus, though. I'll tell you that much. So you can tell him that. I'm all pro, baby.
I could do that. I wish I could have done that every year. That's the thing. I wish there was every week I could have had a Miami game like that, but it just don't work that way.
Well, hey, and it's a testament to you too. There's guys that have bigger numbers, but aren't as loved by the fan base because of the projection of who they are. So we really appreciate you because we haven't had a lot of success as a franchise, and so to have players interact with fans and do things like this, it's really big time for us. So we really appreciate it, and we'll have you on later in the year.
Call me anytime. Call me anytime, and hopefully I'll get out to the game. I'll definitely be over there in D7.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, shout out to YouTube crowd. I know you're checking in. We're growing out there. Appreciate it. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, all the groups. Please go check out Live Rounds. Liz has the Wink for Bet page up. She's got everything popping over there. But thank you, Liz, for coming on and joining the group and the show. Kevin, as always, thank you. And JR, thank you so much for all your work behind the scenes and creating all the great graphics on the page. Jets Guru, we're out. Peace.
Peace.
It's that time. Things just ain't the same for young Jermaine, still underrated, but far from underpaid. And though some problems did fade, the hunger stayed. These stomach rumbles could humble thunder. I'm still fueled by the ones that slumber, that stand out amongst the one-hit wonders. So when the dust settles and the sun is under the horizon, y'all should run the numbers. What with me? Heart is out, and I say that reluctantly, cause it should go without saying, but y'all playing dumb. Far as these rappers go, I'm not fearing none. Cold flow is cold in any genre with many combinations.